Welcome back to my pocket change coins. If you're someone who loves diving into the world of history, mystery, and hidden value, then you're in for a real treat today. Because first, we're going deep into one of the most iconic and patriotic coins in American history, the Washington $quarter from 1776 to 1976. This isn't just any quarter you find lying around in your pocket. No, this coin is a piece of America's heart and soul, minted to celebrate 2 centuries of freedom, courage, and independence. But beyond its beautiful design and historic significance, there's something else that makes this coin incredibly special. It might just be worth a small fortune. And I'm not talking about a few bucks or even a couple $100s. I mean serious, life-changing money. But more on that in just a bit. Let's start with the story behind this legendary coin. In the mid-1970s, the United States was preparing to celebrate its 200th birthday, 2 full centuries since the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776. It was a momentous time filled with national pride, and to honor the bicentennial, the U.S. Mint decided to do something truly special. Instead of the standard quarter design that featured George Washington on one side and the eagle on the reverse, they created a one-time, limited edition version. It still had George Washington's profile on the front, but the reverse side was transformed into something completely unique. It featured a colonial drummer boy, a torch of victory, and a ring of 13 stars representing the original colonies. This bold and symbolic design was a tribute to the spirit of the Revolution, and it became an instant classic. These quarters were minted in both 1975 and 1976, but here's something fascinating: they all bear the dual date 1776 to 1976. That's right, even the ones made in 1975 say 1776 to 1976. That's because no quarters were minted with the date 1975 at all. It was a decision made to mark the entire bicentennial period with one timeless coin. Now, let's talk about what makes some of these quarters so incredibly valuable today. While millions of these coins were produced and circulated across the country, only a tiny fraction were struck in special conditions or had rare variations that make collectors go absolutely wild. There are a few different types out there. Some were made for everyday use, others were struck in proof sets, and then there are the silver-clad versions. Yes, some of these quarters were made with 40% silver, and they're already more valuable than their face value just based on the metal alone. But wait, it gets better. Over the years, collectors and experts have discovered that some of these quarters contain minting errors, little mistakes that occurred during production. Things like double dies, off-center strikes, and other rare anomalies. These quirks may seem like flaws, but in the world of coin collecting, they are pure gold. Why? Because they're one of a kind. And one of a kind means one thing: value. What really sends the value of these quarters into orbit is when one is found in pristine, uncirculated condition, or when it has a rare error that sets it apart from every other coin out there. And when you combine those two qualities, an untouched coin with a one-of-a-kind error, you're looking at something truly special. People all across the country are checking their old coin jars, digging through inherited coin collections, and even checking change from the grocery store, hoping to find one of these valuable quarters. Because believe it or not, some of them have been hiding in plain sight for decades, and now, here's the moment you've been waiting for. A rare version of the 1776 to 1976 Washington quarter, in flawless condition and with the right minting characteristics, has been sold for an absolutely stunning price. Are you ready for this? That coin was sold for $299,000, yes, you heard that right. A single quarter, just 25 cents originally, turned into nearly $300,000 in value. So the next time you see one of those bicentennial quarters with the drummer boy on the back, take a closer look. Because you might just be holding a piece of American history that's worth more than a brand new sports car. Or even a house. Second rare coin, we've got something super exciting to talk about. It's not an ancient coin or something from the early 1900s. Nope, we're talking about a modern-day treasure, the 2021 Washington $quarter. That's right, this coin might look like just another quarter to most people, but if you've got a sharp eye and a little bit of luck, this small piece of modern change could actually be worth a fortune. So, don't go anywhere, because by the end of this video, you'll know why this everyday coin has collectors scrambling to get their hands on it, and what makes it so incredibly valuable. Let's start with the basics. The 2021 D quarter is part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, which came to an end in early 2021. This particular year marked the transition from that long-running series to the brand new Washington crossing the Delaware design. And that's where our coin comes into the spotlight. Unlike the previous years where different states, parks, and historical landmarks were featured, the 2021 quarter went back to something classic, but with a new twist. On the obverse, you'll still find the familiar portrait of George Washington, which has been a staple of the quarter since 1932. But on the reverse, instead of a national park, you'll see a powerful image of General George Washington crossing the Delaware River during the Revolutionary War, a moment that changed the course of American history. It's bold. It's detailed. It's dramatic. And for many collectors, it was a refreshing return to a more traditional and heroic depiction of American history. But here's the part that really gets coin hunters excited. While millions of 2021 quarters were minted, not all of them are created equal. The one you want to keep an eye out for is the Denver minted version. That's the one with the small D mint mark, usually located on the obverse side of the coin just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Now you might be thinking, okay, but if millions were made, why is this coin valuable at all? Here's where it gets interesting. In every batch of coins produced by the US Mint, there's always the potential for tiny flaws or unexpected errors. These are things like doubled dies, off-center strikes, die chips, or even coins that were struck on the wrong planchet. These small mistakes, when they happen, turn ordinary coins into incredibly rare collectibles, and wouldn't you know it, some 2021 D quarters have already been discovered with these rare errors. In fact, there are a few coins floating around out there that were struck with such unusual and rare characteristics that they've made headlines in the coin collecting world, but it's not just about errors. Even without a mistake, condition plays a huge role in value. A 2021 D quarter that has been perfectly preserved, meaning it was never circulated, never scratched, never touched with bare hands, can be graded at the highest levels by professional grading services. These mint state or MS graded coins, especially those that hit MS 67 or higher, are incredibly scarce. Just imagine how many coins are produced and how few make it through the minting process in flawless condition. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. Collectors and investors are constantly on the hunt for these top-tier specimens because they're the best of the best. They're often the ones that end up in high-end collections or sold at auction for jaw-dropping amounts. So here's the million-dollar question: what's the most one of these 2021 D Washington quarter dollars has sold for? Well, one very special coin, graded to near perfection and featuring a rare die error, was sold to a private collector for an absolutely unbelievable amount. That coin went for $81,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. A coin minted just a few years ago. A coin that might still be floating around in everyday change. A coin that originally cost 25 cents. So the next time you get change at the grocery store or you're sorting through that jar of quarters sitting on your dresser, take a moment to look a little closer. That ordinary-looking quarter from 2021 might just be your ticket to something extraordinary. Third expensive coin, we're looking at a modern coin that has recently caught the attention of collectors across the country, the 2022 P Washington quarter dollar. Now, you might be thinking, wait. 2022? That's just last year. And you'd be right. This isn't a relic from centuries ago. This is a coin that could be in your pocket right now. But don't let its age fool you, because some of these coins are already commanding serious attention in the numismatic world, and you'll want to stick around to find out exactly why. So, let's talk about the design first. The 2022 quarter marks the second year of a brand new series from the United States Mint, the American Women Quarters program. It's a fresh and powerful tribute to trailblazing women in U.S. history who broke barriers, shattered ceilings, and changed the nation. And the woman featured on the very first 2022 quarter? The brilliant and fearless Maya Angelou. On the reverse of this quarter, you'll find a stunning image of Maya Angelou with her arms uplifted, inspired by her world-renowned autobiography I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Behind her is a bird in flight and rays of sunlight, symbolizing freedom and creative energy. It's one of the most beautiful and meaningful quarter designs we've seen in recent history. Meanwhile, the obverse side brings something equally intriguing. Instead of the familiar forward-facing portrait of George Washington, the U.S. Mint went with a left-facing version of Washington, an original design by sculptor Laura Garden Fraser that was actually created back in 1932 but had never been used until now. It adds a sense of history and artistry that perfectly fits the spirit of the series, but what really has collectors buzzing isn't just the design, it's the mint mark. And in this case, we're talking about the 2022 quarter minted in Philadelphia. You can spot it by the tiny P located on the obverse side of the coin, just next to Washington's braid. Here's where things start to get interesting. While millions of these quarters were produced for general circulation, not all of them are equal. Some coins were struck under special conditions, and a rare few have been discovered with minting errors that make them incredibly valuable. We're talking about things like doubled die obverse, where parts of the design appear doubled due to a misalignment in the die. Or off-center strikes, where the image is visibly shifted. There have even been reports of die chips and cuds, small chunks of metal that appear on the coin due to wear or damage to the die itself, and here's the thing, these errors are not always easy to spot. Sometimes they're subtle, sometimes they're dramatic. But when they're found in coins that are in perfect, uncirculated condition, they become incredibly rare and desirable to collectors. Another factor that can dramatically increase value? Coin grading. Coins are graded by professional services on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin. Most coins from circulation fall somewhere in the middle. But when a 2022 P quarter is found in near flawless condition, especially with a rare error or anomaly, its value can skyrocket. Imagine holding onto a simple quarter and discovering it's actually a rare piece that collectors are fighting over. It happens more often than you'd think, especially with coins like this, modern, fresh off the mint, and full of surprises. And remember, the key is condition. A coin that's been sitting untouched, never used, with that brilliant luster still shining? That's the kind of coin that collectors will pay big money for. Especially when it comes from a historically significant series like the American Women Quarters. So the next time you get change back at the store, or you're sorting through a handful of coins at home, take a good look at any 2022 quarters you find, especially if they've got that P mint mark. Flip them over. Study the design. Look closely for anything unusual. Because one small detail could mean the difference between a regular coin and a jaw-dropping discovery. Now, here comes the part you've been waiting for. One extraordinary example of a 2022 P Washington quarter, flawless in condition, with a rare and striking mint error, was recently appraised and sold to an elite collector for an astonishing amount. That single quarter sold for $65,000. That's right. A coin that cost 25 cents at the register ended up being worth more than a luxury car. And that's the beauty of collecting, you just never know what treasure might be hiding in plain sight. Especially, we're going back a few decades to a year packed with cultural shifts, bold styles, and historical moments, 1979. And right at the heart of it all was a coin that many people didn't think twice about when they saw it in their pocket, the Washington quarter dollar. But today, we're going to change the way you see that humble little coin. Because as it turns out, the 1979 Washington quarter might just be worth a whole lot more than 25 cents. In fact, some of them are being sold for prices that will absolutely blow your mind. So, let's set the stage. The year is 1979. The United States is transitioning through major economic changes. The disco era is starting to fade, gas prices are rising, and Americans are adapting to a new way of life. Amid all of this, the U.S. Mint continues producing one of the most familiar and enduring pieces of American currency, the Washington quarter. At first glance, the 1979 quarter doesn't look too different from the ones before or after. On the obverse side, you'll see the iconic portrait of George Washington that's been gracing the quarter since 1932. The reverse shows the powerful American eagle, wings spread, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, an image of peace through strength. It's classic. It's timeless. But in the world of coin collecting, sometimes it's not just about the design, it's about the details. Now, here's where things get interesting. In 1979, quarters were minted at 3 major locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia minted quarters, which don't carry a mint mark, were mass-produced and circulated widely. The Denver ones have a little D on the front. But what makes certain 1979 quarters valuable isn't just where they were made, but how they were made. That's right, we're talking about minting errors, rare varieties, and exceptional conditions. Some 1979 quarters have been found with fascinating production quirks. We're talking about off-center strikes, where the image is misaligned due to a printing error. Or double die obverse, where parts of the design appear slightly doubled, especially in the lettering or the date. These are not mistakes you'll find every day, they're extremely rare, and collectors love them. Then there's another factor that plays a huge role: condition. Most 1979 quarters have been passed from hand to hand, through vending machines, into pockets and purses, scraped along countertops, and tossed into change jars. That means most of them are scratched, worn down, and show clear signs of use. But the real gems? They're the ones that somehow, against all odds, remained untouched. These are coins that were never circulated, coins that were taken straight from the mint and carefully preserved. We're talking flawless edges, sharp detail, full luster. These are the types of coins that professional grading services might rate as MS 65, MS 66, or even higher. The higher the grade, the rarer, and more valuable, the coin becomes. Now, let's say you get really lucky. You find a 1979 Washington quarter with a rare mint error, maybe a dramatic off-center strike or a double die, and it's in near-perfect condition. That combination, rarity and quality, is the sweet spot. And that's where the value can take a massive leap. Think about how many quarters you've seen in your life. Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. But what if, hidden among them, was one special coin that stood out from all the rest? That's what drives collectors. That's what makes the hunt so exciting. You never know when an ordinary day will turn into an extraordinary one, just because of a coin you overlooked. So next time you're going through change, pay attention. Look closely. That quarter from 1979 might not seem like much at first glance, but take the time to check the details: the mint mark, the condition, any strange markings or unusual traits. Because a tiny error, a flawless surface, or a unique flaw could be the key to something incredible. And speaking of incredible, it's time for the big reveal. Point 1: exceptionally rare 1979 Washington quarter, featuring a unique mint error and graded in pristine condition, was recently sold for an absolutely astonishing price. That single quarter sold for $57,000. Yes, that's right. A coin that most people would barely glance at, a coin worth 25 cents at face value, ended up fetching more than the price of a luxury vehicle. And it's not an ancient treasure from the 1800s, it's from 1979, a coin that might still be hiding in your change drawer, waiting to be discovered. So keep your eyes open, check your coins, and never underestimate the power of small change. Because sometimes, it holds a big secret. Last unique coin, we're going back to 1970, a year of rock and roll, revolution, and remarkable surprises. And hidden in the middle of it all is a little coin most people barely noticed: the Washington quarter. But not just any quarter, the 1970 D, minted in Denver. It looks like an ordinary 25-cent piece, but for a lucky few, it has turned into a gold mine, and we'll tell you exactly why. Let's set the scene. The United States in 1970 was experiencing massive cultural change. From the music of Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin to the political unrest of the Vietnam War era, this was a time when everything felt like it was shifting. And while the world was busy changing, the U.S. Mint continued doing what it always did, producing coins to keep the economy flowing. Among those coins was the Washington quarter, a staple of American currency since 1932. Featuring George Washington on the obverse and a proud American eagle on the reverse, the design hadn't changed much by 1970. But what many people didn't know was that something unusual happened that year. something that would make one version of this coin a hidden treasure. Now, the 1970 D quarter, minted in Denver, was part of a standard issue. Millions were produced. Most of them were used in everyday transactions, buying coffee, paying tolls, or dropped into soda machines without a second thought. But a very small number of these coins weren't like the rest. It all comes down to a mistake. A printing error. A fluke in the minting process that, at the time, probably didn't seem like a big deal to anyone. But in the world of coin collecting, small mistakes can mean big rewards. In this case, some 1970 D quarters were accidentally struck on Canadian quarters. That's right, blanks meant for coins from another country entirely. So, what does that mean? It means that instead of being struck on the usual US quarter planchet, these rare coins were printed on thinner, slightly different Canadian silver blanks. If you look closely at one of these rare coins, you can sometimes even see remnants of the original markings from the Canadian coin underneath the US design. It's like two countries, two histories, colliding in one coin. That kind of error is incredibly rare, and incredibly valuable. Even more, some of these coins managed to survive the minting process in nearly perfect condition. That means no scratches, no wear, no dings from circulation. They were preserved, untouched, and eventually discovered by collectors who knew exactly what to look for. And let's not forget, coins like these are often verified and graded by professional services. The higher the grade, the more pristine the coin, and the higher its value. A rare error coin in mint condition? That's like hitting the collector's jackpot. Now, you might be wondering, how would I even know if I had one of these rare 1970 D quarters? Great question. First, check the mint mark. It'll have a small D on the obverse, to the right of Washington's ponytail. Next, look closely at the edge and weight of the coin. Does it seem slightly off? Lighter or thinner than usual? And here's the big one, under magnification. Some rare 1970 D quarters struck on Canadian blanks actually show traces of the 1970 Canadian quarters design, especially around the rim. That's your sign. Finding one isn't easy, but then again, treasures rarely are. The thrill of the hunt is what makes it exciting. And sometimes, that ordinary-looking coin sitting in the bottom of a drawer might be something truly special, which brings us to the big moment. You've waited for it, so here it is. Point one of these rare, error-marked, perfectly preserved 1970 D Washington quarters, struck on a foreign blank and verified by professional grading, was sold at auction for an eye-popping amount. That single quarter sold for $85,000, yes, $85,000. For a coin that started its life as just another quarter. That's the magic of coin collecting. It blends history, mystery, and a touch of luck. You never know what you'll find until you take a closer look. So next time you're digging through loose change or opening an old coin roll, don't ignore the quarters. Especially not the ones from 1970 with that little D mark. It could be more than just a piece of history. It could be your next big discovery. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about valuable coins hiding in plain sight, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a story. Until next time, stay curious, keep hunting, and happy collecting.